Okay, let's just get this out of the way. This is a $44,000 watch. For a high horology rose gold chronograph, that's not a crazy price. There are many steel watches that list for more, but I just want to get through that discomfort because I want to talk about the watch and not the cost. And because of that price, I'm not buying this. You're probably not either. So with that acknowledged, we can focus on the fun stuff. This is the fourth watch I've reviewed from Parmigiani Fleurier, and so I really don't want to go through the history of the brand in depth, but it's a watchmaker for those in the know. The brand's namesake, Michel Parmigiani, and many people who have worked for and with the brand are big names in watchmaking, people that have gone on to found their own brands or work on other famous watches. And that's all to say that this is a full-on high horology Swiss watchmaking house. And it's one that previously had been known only to educated collectors and industry insiders. But maybe that's changing, and maybe this is why. This is the Tonda GT chronograph. It's one of a few Tonda GT watches which are Parmigiani's sportiest watches maybe ever. And yeah, sporty is in big neon air quotes because, come on, a $44,000 gold watch ain't sporty. I don't care how water resistant it is. The Tonda GT watches are similar to, but not to be confused with, the Tonda PF watches. The Tonda PF watches, like this one that I reviewed about 6 months ago, are dressier but have many identical elements to the GT watches. Let's start with some facts. This is a rose gold Tonda GT chronograph. It's 42 millimeters in diameter, 14.6 millimeters thick, and 47.5 millimeters long, technically. But the strap kind of flares out, so practically speaking, I'd say the length is a bit more. It has 100 meters of water resistance and weighs 153 grams on this rubber strap with a gold deployant clasp. There is a rose gold bracelet option, but not in this colorway. Parmigiani refers to this color combination as silver and granata, granata being this burgundy red. There are other gold references and a few steel references too. But what's unusual here is that the gold watches are chronographs with date complications, while the steel watches are chronographs with annual calendar complications. From a distance, they look identical, so just be aware of that difference when you're looking for your next sports watch. And of course, because of that, the gold references have a different movement inside. In this watch is the in-house caliber PF071. It's a pretty neat engine. The PF71 is certified by COSC as a chronometer. It has 65 hours of power reserve and uses a vertical clutch for the chronograph. It runs at 5 Hz, so that's 10 ticks per second. It's a high beat movement. Technically, you can use this to measure down to 1/10 of a second, but don't do that. We have better tools for that. High beat movements are also likely to be more accurate than lower beat movements. And as you might expect, this is one good-looking piece of machinery. I really like the design of the bridges here, some unexpected shapes, and a lot of anglage. Those are the polished, beveled edges of these bridges and plates. And that's all finished by hand. The brushing is also a bit unusual, not the traditional Geneva stripes, but instead stripes that radiate out from the center of the movement and curve as they go out, almost a spiral, but not quite. And then there's the 22 karat rose gold rotor weight sitting above the other more than 300 parts of the PF071. And I think the dial is just as interesting and beautiful as the movement. Starting from the outside, there is a chapter ring for all your 1/10 of a second measurement needs. Then there's the rehaut with concentric circles gradually angling downwards towards the main dial. The rehaut has rose gold markers inset into it. Inside those markers is a luminous material, but barely luminous. And the skeletonized hands have even less lume, so what's the point? It's a strange choice of elements here. The dial has a fine triangular hobnail texture, which is very cool in different lights, and the subdials are glossy maroon, which is a color I think goes perfectly with rose gold. At 12 o'clock is a big date. I love a big date, not just because I find them legible, but also because a proper big date uses 2 discs, one for each number position. There's no great functionality to this, it's just neato. And by now we should all recognize that that's the point of mechanical watches, that neato factor. The case is super elegant. It uses the signature Parmigiani teardrop lugs, and they're mimicked by the chronograph pushers, which is a really nice design detail. There's a fine coin edge bezel, and above that a polished bezel. I reviewed 2 steel Tonda watches, and now I can see that this design truly shines in gold. It's difficult to describe why. There's a richness to this design and a matching richness to rose gold. And I don't mean richness as in money, although yeah, that's there. I mean lushness. Maybe lushness is a better word. I find this truly beautiful. On my 7-inch wrist, the watch wears large and heavy, but comfortable on this rubber strap, which happens to smell like vanilla. For real, some rubber straps have a vanilla scent. The watch is a bit top heavy, but that's mitigated slightly by the wide strap. It distributes the load a bit. I don't know what this watch would weigh on a gold bracelet, but it's probably too much for me. I'd guess around 230 to 250 grams. So who buys this gold watch that costs as much as a nice car and is from a brand that most people have never heard of? Well, I think people with a certain amount of confidence. And maybe that confidence is unfounded, but more likely it's based on knowledge about watches and a lot of experience with all the other obvious expensive name brands. Those 3 that make up the trinity of Swiss watchmaking specifically. I don't expect this is anyone's first luxury watch, or even their second or third, but I do think that they can find something in this Tonda GT that they've never seen before, besides the black lume and skeletonized hands, of course. The Tonda GT is an exemplar of why I have this channel, to shed light on interesting pieces in any price range, even ones that will prevent you from retiring. Stuff that you just don't see every day or maybe any day, but watches like this, which I think deserve some attention.